I've been producing these Kubrick videos for a while now, and I hope you've been enjoying them as much as I have. The next topic, though, it's a bit controversial. Eyes Wide Shut dives into some seriously dark territory: power, exploitation, and the blurred lines between reality and illusion. From older men preying on much younger women, to disturbing hints of pedophilia, cults, and systemic abuse, it touches on themes that still hit hard today. Whether it's Ziegler's treatment of Mandy, the costume shop owner prostituting his daughter, or the film's religious symbolism tied to real-world scandals, Kubrick wasn't just poking at taboos, he was dragging them into the light. To me, it's not just about shock value. It feels like Kubrick was exposing how deep the rot goes in elite circles, where wealth and power can mask the most horrific truths. And somehow, over 20 years later, Eyes Wide Shut still feels uncomfortably relevant. There is so much in Eyes Wide Shut that I didn't initially notice, whether in the etymology of character names and the actors playing them, the mise-en-scène, the color coordination, or other visual and auditory cues. But a deeper examination opens up a world of parallels that now seem too obvious to ignore, to the point where I wonder how I ever could have missed them in the first place. One such example may be a Kubrickian reference to the film Rosemary's Baby, marked by the conspicuous appearance of a baby buggy in Eyes Wide Shut's toy store scene. The antique-looking stroller closely resembles the iconic carriage featured in the 1968 film's posters. Rosemary's Baby is a psychological horror film written and directed by Roman Polanski, starring Mia Farrow. It was adapted from a novel by Ira Levin, who also wrote The Stepford Wives, 1972, about brainwashed suburban housewives. That novel was likewise adapted into a movie in 1975 and later remade in 2004, starring none other than Nicole Kidman. Rosemary's Baby follows a bourgeois American couple living on Central Park West in Manhattan's Upper West Side, like Bill and Alice in Eyes Wide Shut, who literally conceived the devil's offspring for a satanic cult in exchange for higher social status. As a cinematic side note to Eyes Wide Shut, the 1993 thriller The Firm, directed by Sidney Pollack, also stars a paranoid Tom Cruise, once again in over his head with a seemingly all-powerful cult-like organization. Like Eyes Wide Shut, Rosemary's Baby centers on perception and paranoia. There are moments in both films when it feels as though much of what we're seeing is allegorical, projections from the minds of each protagonist, Bill and Rosemary. And both films explore themes of misogyny, sexual abuse, and the sexual autonomy of women. Given these parallels, including the symbolic names Rose and Mary, as mentioned earlier, it's quite possible that the baby carriage in Eyes Wide Shut was Kubrick's deliberate nod to Rosemary's Baby. In a 1980 interview with Michel Simont about The Shining, Simont asked Kubrick, "What kind of horror films do you like? Did you see Rosemary's Baby?" Kubrick replied, "It was one of the best of the genre." Polanski's first film after the incident was Tess, 1979, an adaptation of Thomas Hardy's 1891 novel Tess of the d'Urbervilles, about a young peasant girl raped by a wealthy nobleman. Soon after, Jack Nicholson starred in Stanley Kubrick's The Shining and had previously worked with Polanski in Chinatown, 1974, a film also centered around a powerful older man raping his daughter. Themes found in Roman Polanski's life and films parallel those in Eyes Wide Shut: rape, murder, cults, and wealthy older men preying on much younger women. Polanski's later wife, actress Emmanuelle Seiner, was 22 when she married the 55-year-old director. Mia Farrow, who starred in Rosemary's Baby, was married to singer Frank Sinatra at the time. She was 21 and he was 50 when they wed. They divorced less than 2 years later. Farrow later married filmmaker Woody Allen, only to divorce him as well and accuse him of molesting her adopted daughter Soon-Yi Previn, whom Allen later married when she was 26 and he was 61. Another adopted daughter of Farrow and Allen, Dylan Farrow, also accused Allen of molesting her when she was 7. While Allen was never convicted, he was legally denied custody. In 2013, another of their adopted children, Moses Farrow, publicly accused Mia Farrow of physical abuse and defended Allen. Soon-Yi Previn also defended Allen in 2018. Meanwhile, one of Farrow and Allen's biological children, investigative journalist Roman Farrow, published explosive exposés in The New Yorker between 2017 and 2018 that helped bring down powerful figures such as Harvey Weinstein, CBS executive Les Moonves, and the President of the United States at the time, Donald Trump. Stanley Kubrick was a fan of Woody Allen's work, especially Husbands and Wives, which co-starred Sidney Pollack, 1992, Annie Hall, 1977, and Manhattan, 1979. A black-and-white romantic comedy about a 42-year-old man dating a 17-year-old girl. On a strange side note connected to Eyes Wide Shut, Allen's best friend in Manhattan is named Yale Pollack. At one point, Kubrick even considered casting Allen in the lead role of Eyes Wide Shut, which is also set in Manhattan and deals with themes of older men and much younger women. According to Kubrick's brother-in-law Jan Harlan, who executive produced Kubrick's final 4 films, as well as AI, artificial intelligence, and directed the 2001 documentary Stanley Kubrick, A Life in Pictures, in a 2014 Sight and Sound interview, open quote, "Did you know that his Kubrick's first contract with Warner Bros. Was for Trom Novel in 1970? The film that became Eyes Wide Shut almost 30 years later. He postponed it because he wasn't happy with his script, and A Clockwork Orange came along. Much later, before The Shining, he was on cloud 9 with the idea of doing Trom Novel as a low-budget arthouse film in black and white with Woody Allen in the lead, filming in London and maybe Dublin to mimic New York. Woody Allen, straight as a Jewish doctor in New York. That was his plan. He abandoned it again because he was not satisfied with the script. I am very happy to know that he considered Eyes Wide Shut his greatest contribution to the art of filmmaking, and I think he is the only judge that matters." Close quote. There are numerous instances in Eyes Wide Shut that depict older men with significantly younger women or girls. Sandor Savost and Alice, he is approximately 25 years older than she is. Ziegler and Mandy, he is nearly 40 years her senior. Milich's associates and his daughter, she is only 15, while they appear to be in their 50s. Stanley Kubrick also directed Lolita, a film about a man in his 50s who becomes obsessed with a 14-year-old girl. Much of what surrounds Rosemary's Baby also clearly aligns with Kubrick's recurring themes of power, control, and misogyny. This all leads into Eyes Wide Shut's darkest aspects, the sexual abuse of women. Remember how Ziegler is shirtless, still zipping up his pants in front of a passed-out Mandy when Bill enters the room? And how inconvenienced and irritated he becomes when Bill suggests that Mandy should stay for another hour to recover from her overdose, while Ziegler clearly wants to shuffle her out the back door immediately. And darker still, pedophilia. The costume store owner, Mr. Milich, prostituting his own daughter is the most blatant example. With the references to Lewis Carroll, it is also worth noting that he has been accused of pedophilia, including allegations that he painted nude portraits of young girls. And with the Catholic Church's systemic child sexual abuse, the religious allusions in Eyes Wide Shut become disturbingly relevant. It all evokes conspiracy theories about child trafficking and prostitution rings operated by powerful elites, the world's wealthiest and most protected criminals. Accounts of the Central Intelligence Agency's MKUltra mind control program describe experiments involving psychological, physical, and sexual abuse. But whether children were involved remains disputed and highly controversial. Eyes Wide Shut is now over 20 years old, but the serious themes it explores remain highly relevant today, especially in light of the Me Too and Time's Up movements, which have exposed sexual assault and predatory behavior by men in powerful positions. The newspaper article about Mandy states that her agent notified hotel security when she did not answer the phone. Could Ziegler be her agent, in a role reminiscent of Harvey Weinstein? Bill also refers to the 2 women at the party as models. All of this leads to another key female character in Eyes Wide Shut who has not yet been discussed, Bill and Alice's daughter, Helena Harford.